Welcome, everyone, to today's Town of Chatham Zoning Board of Appeals meeting. The date is January 28th. The year is 2021. This meeting is being recorded and will be available shortly hereafter for scheduled and on-demand viewing on any smartphone or tablet device. If anyone else is recording the meeting, please let us know. Pursuant to Governor Baker's March 12, 2020 order, and many others following that, we impose strict limitations on the number of people that may gather in one place. This meeting of the Chatham Zoning Board is being conducted via remote participation. No in-person attendance of members of the public will be permitted, but every effort will be made to ensure that the public can adequately access the proceedings as provided for in the order. A reminder that persons who would like to listen to this meeting while in progress may do so by calling the phone number 508-945-4410. The conference ID number you'll have to punch in is 630-641-779, and then hit the pound sign. Despite our best efforts, we may not be able to provide for real-time access, and we will post a record of this meeting on the town's website as soon as possible. So I'll now take a roll call of all the board members to authorize this remote participation meeting, and please give your full name. I will start with Dave Veach.
David H. Veach, present.
Okay, you want to say yes?
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Paul?
Paul C. Semple, yes.
Happy?
Happy Van Sickle, yes.
Buck?
James M. Upson, yes.
Dennis?
Dennis Sullivan, yes.
Dave Thompson?
Oh, I'm sorry. Dave Thompson, yes.
Megan?
Megan Story, yes.
And I am David S. Nixon, and I go with yes. For those who don't know, I'll go through how the procedure for our meeting goes. And I might add that any citizens and non-board members participating in the call via the phone only, we need to know your name and the last digits of your phone number for identification purposes. And you get Sarah Clark's attention by waving or putting your hand up on the screen. First of all, the hearing notice will be read. It will be read by Sarah B. Clark. Sarah is a town employee, and she's the PPO, which is the principal permitting officer for the town, as well as the executive secretary for the Zoning Board of Appeals. After the hearing notice is read, the individual or their representative will present the application or appeal. Then I would ask for anybody in the audience who's in favor of the appeal or the application to speak if they wish. Then I would read any and all letters that we had received. Then I would ask for anybody who would like to speak against the appeal or application or has a specific question to do so, again, by indicating to Sarah on the screen that you wish to speak. If there's any of that, there could very well be some rebuttal testimony. I would then ask the board members to direct their questions to anyone present. Following that, I would ask Paul Semple for a motion to close the public hearing and go into deliberation. Deliberation is not open to the populace unless an individual on the board asks for input from one or more people who have been involved, and that kind of opens the door for them to join in the discussion of deliberation. We would then have a vote in the Commonwealth of Massachusetts Zoning Board. To be successful, you need to get a supermajority. In our case, there are 5 votes. That means to be successful, you need to get 4 votes. And that is what happens. So to begin with, we're going to have a continuance request. So, Sarah, I would ask you to read 20-080.
Application number 20-080, Catawba Point LLC, care of William F. Riley, Esquire, P.O. Box 707, Chatham, Mass. 02633. Owner of property located at 68 Shell Drive, also shown on the Town of Chatham's Assessor's Map 14K, Block 7, Lot W50. The applicant seeks a dimensional variance from Section 4B4D for the depth and distance that landscape material may be allowed. A dimensional variance is required under Mass General Law, Chapter 48, Section 10, and Section 8D2C of the Chatham Protective Bylaw. Under application number 20-081, the applicant seeks to enlarge, extend, or change a non-conforming dwelling on a non-conforming lot via the relocation of a portion of the existing dwelling and conversion to guest quarters and the construction of a new dwelling and swimming pool. Also proposed is the installation of a new driveway as allowed by special permit under Section 4A3D. The existing dwelling is non-conforming and that it is located entirely within the Coastal Conservancy District, floodplain elevation 11. The proposed guest quarters and new dwelling will be non-conforming and that they will be located within the Coastal Conservancy District where a 50-foot setback is required. The existing building coverage is 3,697 square feet, 43.7%, and the proposed building coverage is 7,635 square feet, 90.3%, where 15% is the maximum allowed. The lot is non-conforming in that it contains 8,455 square feet of contiguous buildable upland, where 20,000 square feet is required for a single dwelling. The lot contains 120,100 square feet in an R40 zoning district. A special permit is required under Mass General Law, Chapter 40A, Sections 6 and 9, and Sections 5B and 8D2B of the Chatham Protective Bylaw. This was continued from December 17th, 2020.
Mr. Riley, are you there?
Yes, yes, I am, believe it or not.
Well,
Yeah, so on behalf of Chatham LLC, we would request a continuance to the first meeting in March. What's happening is the Conservation Commission, in their ultimate wisdom, have decided that they need to hire their own expert to determine, to check the work that our Woods Hole Group has done on behalf of our client. So that they've identified who they're going to hire, but they have to go through, there's a process, of course. So we don't exactly know when we're going to hear back from their expert. So I thought if we could continue till March 11th, if we're lucky, maybe we can proceed at that time, as we'll have more information from the Conservation Commission, or we can pick a later date if we need more time to hear from the expert.
okay, thank you. Sarah, if this is granted to Mr. Riley, does he need to sign anything that okays this continuance?
I can send him out an extension because it is the variance application. We are technically supposed to render a decision within 100 days. So I will send out a continuance extension form to Mr. Riley tomorrow.
And Mr. Riley, I presume that's okay with you?
Yeah, of course. Yeah, naturally.
Okay, then I'll ask the board, does any member of the board have any questions of Mr. Riley on this? If so, please speak up. Okay, not hearing anyone. Paul, would you make a motion, please, for a continuance to March 11th, 2021?
Yes, this is Paul Semple. I'll move the grant continuance to March 11th, 2021.
David Beach, second.
Okay, then we'll vote on that. Mr. Veach?
Beach votes yes.
Paul?
Semple votes yes.
Happy?
Van Sickle votes yes.
Buck?
Buck votes yes.
And I vote yes. Okay, that's a unanimous vote. Thank you very much, Mr. Riley. All right, Sarah, let's go to 20-085.
Application number 20-085, David D. and Gretchen Guild, care of Ed Acton, 48 Hillcrest Road, North Chatham, Mass. 02650. Owner of property located at 118 Captain's Walk, also shown on the Town of Chatham's Assessor's Map 15H, Block 30, Lot H20. The applicant seeks to enlarge, extend, or change a non-conforming dwelling on a non-conforming lot via the demolition of the existing dwelling and construction of a new dwelling. The existing dwelling is non-conforming in that it is located 22.9 feet from the northerly abutter. The proposed dwelling will be non-conforming in that it will be located 23.5 feet from the northerly abutter, where a 25-foot setback is required. The existing building coverage is 2,858 square feet, 12.9%, and the proposed building coverage is 2,763 square feet, 12.5%, where 2,850 square feet is the maximum allowed. The lot is non-conforming in that it contains 22,159 square feet, where 40,000 square feet is required in the R40 zoning district. A special permit is required under Mass General Law, Chapter 40A, Section 6, and Section 5B of the Chatham Protective Bylaw.
Mr. Acton, are you there?
I am. Can you hear me?
We certainly can. The floor is yours.
Great. Good afternoon. Thank you for having us this afternoon. So my name's Ed Acton. I'm good friends with David and Gretchen Giles, and they have asked me to build them a new home at 118 Captain's Walk in North Chatham. The Giles are a longtime family of Chatham, second generation, and this is their primary home that we're going to be raising and building a new one. So with your approval, we'd like to raise the existing house at 118 Captain's Walk and build a new home that we think will fit nicely with the surrounding homes in the neighborhood. So we're here before you tonight to request a special permit under Section 5B, non-conforming lots, building and uses, enlargement, extension, or change of the Chatham Protective Bylaws.
Okay, would you go through the criteria for us, please?
Sure. The existing home, the lot is 22,159 square feet in an R40 zone, so therefore it's pre-existing non-conforming. The lot's generally flat with no conservation issues. The existing home is 4 bedrooms, was built in 1972, so it's approximately 50 years old, with a building coverage of 2,858 square feet or 12.9% coverage. The current house height is a ranch. It's 16.5 feet high, where 30 feet is allowed. The front yard setback is 42.5 feet, where 40 feet is the minimum, and its south-facing side yard setback is 25.3 feet at its closest point, where 25 is the minimum. The north-facing side yard setback is non-conforming as it's only 22.9 feet, where 25 is the minimum, and the rear yard setback is 51.7 feet, where 25 is the minimum. The proposed new home is going to be a 4-bedroom home, 2-story, a shingle-style gambrel, wood roof, wood cedar clapboard. So a typical house you would see about Chatham. The building coverage is 2,763 square feet or 12.5%, where 15% or 2,850 is the maximum allowed. So we're actually reducing the footprint by 0.04% or approximately 95 square feet of a reduction in the footprint. The proposed height of the new house is 28.3 feet, where 30 is the maximum, and that's about 11 foot to 8-inch increase. The proposed front yard setback is going to be 40.5 feet, where 40 is the minimum. The proposed south side setback is 29.4 feet at its closest point, but the house is actually about 52.3 feet from the lot line. The proposed north side setback is 23.5 feet and non-conforming, where 25 is the minimum, but it's less non-conforming than the pre-existing setback of 22.9. So this is an improvement of about half a foot. The proposed rear yard setback is 55.4 feet, where 25 feet is the minimum. And we are also proposing an 18 by 36 pool, which meets all the setback regulations. As far as compatibility of size, the proposed house has a smaller footprint than the existing house, and it's of a style and a size that's compatible with the neighboring single-family homes. The proposed house will have 3,750 square feet on 2 floors. In regards to conformity, there'll be no increase in nonconformities, but there'll be a reduction of nonconformity on the side yard setback of about half a foot. And there's also, again, the reduction in footprint of about 95 square feet or 0.04%. Suitability, the proposed house is designed for the site, which is generally flat, and we have no conservation issues with the property. As far as impact, we feel that the scale of the proposed home fits with the neighborhood. The visual character will be an improvement in our opinion, and there should be no negative impacts on views or vistas as the property is bordered on all sides, so with trees, and all the setbacks are actually similar or a little bit improved over the existing house. As far as compatibility, it's a single-family home in a single-family neighborhood, and it's of similar size and scale. The current 4-bedroom home is serviced by a septic system installed in 1994 with a leaching pit. The new 4-bedroom home will have a new Title V system that will be an improvement over the current system. The current and new home will also be serviced by town water and by natural gas. As far as traffic flow and safety, there should be no increased traffic flow, and the proposed house will have a 2-car garage and additional off-street parking with turnaround for space. It's also located at the end of Captain's Walk, and there's a cul-de-sac there and turnaround, so it's at the end of a dead-end road. As far as noise and litter, there'll be a dumpster on site at all times with a cover during construction. I'll be on site and the general contractor to make sure the site stays clean and there's no excessive noise. All work will be performed during construction working hours per Chatham bylaws. The site has plenty of room for off-street parking for contractor vehicles, and also, as I said, it's a cul-de-sac at the end of a dead-end road. As far as utilities, it'll be serviced by new Title V septic, new underground electric, natural gas, and town water. That's pretty much it. Please let me know if you have any questions, and I know the Guilds are excited to have a new home, and they're on the line as well.
All right, well, thank you, Mr. Acton. That was an excellent presentation. Is there anyone in the audience who would like to speak in favor of this application? If so, please indicate on your screen so that Sarah can recognize you.
I see no one that wishes to speak in favor of the application.
Okay, then I will read the correspondence. The first is an email. This is from Carol Salo, S-A-L-O, and she writes, "We support the demolition of the existing dwelling and the construction of a new dwelling. We are sure it will be tasteful and a positive addition to the neighborhood." That's from Carol and Harry, and they live at 65 Captain's Walk, and that is dated January 13th. And then we have a letter. This is from Judy and Steve Genodine, 8 Captain's Walk, January 11th. As neighbors and homeowners on Captain's Walk, we are writing to support the Guiles in their planned project to build a new home. The Guiles kindly reached out to share the details of their plan. We understand the project meets variance requirements and believe this project is well aligned with the same neighborhood and will add tremendous to the community and neighbors on Captain's Walk. Then we have a letter. This is from Brian and Suzanne Doherty, 55 Captain's Walk. And this was received on January 7th. They write, our family has resided on Captain's Walk since June of 2005 and have known the Giles for many years. They're a great family and asset to the town. We believe their new home project will be a great addition to our neighborhood and fully support its approval by the board. On December 23rd, Laurie and Tom Derry wrote, we live at 20 Captain's Walk and have known the Giles for several years. They're friendly, helpful, and considerate neighbors. We fully support the new house project and believe it will be a great addition to our neighborhood. Then lastly, we have a letter. This is from William and Nancy Corner, Koerner, and they write on January 6th, we are anxious to let you folks know that we as neighbors are very much in favor of the plans that the Giles are proposing for their property. We have seen a house nearby that's very similar to the one they plan to build, and we feel it'll be a wonderful addition to the neighborhood. We're delighted they choose to stay on Captain's Walk. We encourage your board to vote favorably on this proposal. Let's see, they don't give their specific, oh yes, they do, 95 Captain's Walk. That's the extent of the correspondence. I would now ask the audience.
Mr. Nixon, yes, we should have the memo from the Board of Health as well. I can read it. I have it up on my screen if you'd like.
Yeah, let me look. I do not see it at the moment, Ken. So,
Okay. So it is from Judith Giorgio, the health agent, dated January 26, 2021. And she says, I have reviewed the plan to demo and rebuild the dwelling at this property. The plan does not add any septic flow to the existing property. A new septic system has been approved and permitted for the proposed dwelling. I have no concerns at this time.
okay, I would now ask for anyone in the audience who wishes to speak either against this project or has a specific question to indicate on the screen that you would like to speak so that Sarah can pick it up.
I see no one that wishes to speak in opposition or has a specific question.
Okay, then we will go to questions from the board. We'll start with Dave Veach.
Dave Veach has no questions.
Paul?
Paul Semple has no questions.
Happy?
Happy Van Sickle has no questions.
Buck?
Buck has no questions.
Dennis?
Dennis Sullivan, I have no questions.
Dave Thompson?
Dave Thompson has no questions.
Megan?
Megan Story has no questions.
And I have no questions. Okay, Paul, a motion.
This is Paul Semple. I'll move to close the hearing and move into deliberations.
David Veach seconds.
Okay. Voting, Dave Veach?
Yes, this,
No, that's fine. You just, that's good.
oh, yes, I'm yes.
Paul?
This is Paul Semple. I vote yes.
Happy?
Happy votes yes.
Buck?
Buck votes yes.
I vote yes. Okay, deliberations. Let's start with Paul.
Yeah, this is clearly a nice project that meets all of our criteria and is not substantially more detrimental to the neighborhood.
Happy?
I agree with Paul.
Buck?
I'll use the same words as Paul. I'm satisfied it meets our criteria and certainly not detrimental to the neighborhood.
Dennis?
Dennis Sullivan, if I were voting, I would certainly vote in favor of it. Meets all the standards and the neighbors seem to like it.
Dave Thompson?
Dave Thompson thinks it's a great project. If he was voting, he would vote in favor.
Megan?
Megan agrees. She would also vote in favor. And I think that it's obvious that there's no detriment to the neighborhood given how many neighbors have written letters in support.
Dave Veach?
And I concur with all previous.
And I do too. Okay, well, before we go to the vote, I should say that voting today on the first application, the second and the fourth would be Dave Veach, Paul, Happy, Buck, and myself. On the third, that's 53 Little Beach, because it's been continued a couple of times, the voters would be Paul, Buck, Dave Thompson, Megan, and myself. but that's on Little Beach. So going back to this one, Paul, would you please make a motion? Well, I should say, Paul, do you think we need any conditions?
Given the fact that it's a dead end and there's plenty of room to handle construction and so forth, I don't see a need for any conditions.
Yeah, and I know of Mr. Acton's projects in town, and he does keep a neat ship, so I'm not concerned about it at all. Okay, then please make the motion, Paul.
Yes, this is Paul Semple. I'll move to approve the application as submitted.
David Veach seconds.
Okay, voting. Dave Veach.
Veach votes yes.
Paul.
Semple votes yes.
Happy.
Happy votes yes.
Buck.
Buck votes yes.
And I vote yes. That's a unanimous decision. Thank you very much, Mr. Acton, and good luck to you.
Thank you.
Okay, Megan. 20 Megan. You don't want to read it, Megan.
I was like, what?
Well, actually, Megan, if you had to read one, this would be the one to read it. I got to tell you. No, Sarah, please.
Yeah, I'll let you go right ahead.
Sarah, please read 20-086.
Application number 20-086, Michael and Doris Budens, care of James M. Norcross Esquire, P.O. Box 707, Chatham, Mass. 02633. Owner of property located at 0 Uncle Albert's Drive Extension, also shown in the Town of Chatham's Assessor's Map 12E, Block 3, Lot A3. The applicant seeks to demolish the existing barn/shed and construct a new barn/shed on an unimproved lot as allowed by special permit under footnote 3 of Appendix 2 of the protective bylaw. The lot contains 40,040 square feet in an R40 zoning district. A special permit is required under Mass General Law, Chapter 40A, Section 9, and Section 8D2B of the Chatham Protective Bylaw.
Mr. Norcross, are you there?
I am. Good afternoon. How are you?
I'm fine, thank you. The floor is yours.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. My clients have submitted this application for a special permit to construct a barn on a vacant parcel that they own at 0 Uncle Albert's Drive Extension. The Bowdens initially acquired ownership of the single-family home at 1 Richards Lane back in 2012. A couple years ago, they purchased 2 additional vacant parcels, including this one from their neighbor, John Richards. The proposed barn would replace the dilapidated barn, which if you've been out to the site, you can still see now. That was on site for many years and will be used by the Bowdens in conjunction with their home on Richards Lane. The intent is to use it for storage of their tractor, for the landscaping, to store some supplies for their vegetable garden that's right nearby the new area. Pursuant to the zoning bylaw, an accessory use such as a barn or a shed may be located on a separate lot from the principal use, provided it is for private use and meets the special permit criteria under Section 8D2B of the bylaw. So just running through the criteria under that section of your bylaw. Number 1 is adequacy of the site in terms of the size for the proposed use. As the project meets all dimensional requirements, the site is adequate in terms of size for the proposed use. Number 2, suitability of the site for the proposed use. The construction of the barn will be quite minor in scale, and the site is certainly suitable for this proposed use. It will require the trimming of some of the trees around the shed that you see today, but the Bowdens' intent is to keep the trees and not remove any of them, as they like the privacy that it affords from the neighboring property. Number 3, impact on traffic flow and safety. There will be none from this project. Number 4, impact on neighborhood visual character. We don't think there'll be any negative impact on neighborhood visual character. The structure is an attractive design, is only approximately 336 square feet in size. Given the siting of the structure, the nearby vegetation, it will not be highly visible to neighboring properties. Number 5, adequacy of method of sewage disposal, source of water and drainage. There is no proposed use requiring septic or water. Number 6, adequacy of utilities is not applicable in this case. There'll be no utilities connected to the structure. Number 7, noise and litter is not applicable. Number 8, compatibility of the proposed use with surrounding land uses. The barn will be used in conjunction with a residential home and located within a residential neighborhood, and therefore it is quite compatible with surrounding land uses. Number 9, impact on the natural environment. We don't think there'll be any negative impact on the natural environment as a result of this proposal. And number 10 is not applicable. So based upon the above criteria, we believe the applicant meets the requirements for a special permit under this section of the bylaw, and I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Thank you. I will now ask anyone in the audience who wishes to speak in favor of this to indicate on the screen so that Sarah can see you that you wish to speak.
I see no one that, oh, we have one person that wishes to speak in favor, Andy C.
Good afternoon. This is Andrew Cruikshank. The Cruikshank family resides at 55 Christopher Harding Lane. We're happy to welcome the Bowdens into the neighborhood over the last several years. Our family has been property owners in Chatham since the early 1960s. I do just have a couple of questions for Mr. Norcross.
Okay,
Your
questions would have to wait until I ask for that to happen. This is strictly where you're speaking in favor of it.
Okay, I'll wait. Thank you.
Very good. I will now read the correspondence we've received, which is the only thing I have is from Judith Giorgio, health agent. On January 26th, she writes, I have reviewed the plan to construct a shed/barn at this property. The shed is acceptable with the understanding that there will be no septic or sewer connections, and the building is not considered a living space. Okay, Sarah, did you have anything else beside that one?
That is the only piece of correspondence we received.
Okay, then I'll go back to you, Mr. Cruikshank. This is the time where people can ask questions or speak against it. So others out there who wish to do either of those, please indicate to Sarah as we go along so she can pick it up. So Mr. Cruikshank, please, I'm back to you with your questions.
Thank you. So James, just a couple of quick questions. In terms of the construction and the siding, are the Bowdens planning on using cedar shingles for the structure?
I don't know the answer to that question, I'm afraid, in terms of what they're proposing for the side. I believe it's Pine Harbors that's going to be doing the work. If you've seen they have a similar barn located or similar structure located on their the lot with their single family house. I think it's going to be very similar in design to that structure. If you're familiar with it, Mr. Cruikshank.
Yes, I am, and it's that it would be cedar shingles, which is fantastic.
Okay.
The second question, James, do you know the orientation of the new structure in terms of the pictures that are in the chart? Is the I'll call it a front door, is that facing the east, or will that be facing the north?
I believe I guess by front door, do you mean what looks like the barn door?
The front door is what you have up on the screen right now.
Okay. Sarah, would you be able to show the second picture, I guess, that has the barn door on it? I believe that side that you see right there with the barn door will be facing to the north.
Okay.
Because that faces out toward the garden area. The other side is where the dense vegetation is on the next to the John Richards property to the south.
Okay. No, that's great. And it was also positive to hear that the Bowdens are looking to maintain the old growth trees that are in the area. So for the Cruikshank family, we support or approve the construction.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Cruikshank. Is there anyone else out there who wishes to ask specific questions or to speak against this? If so, please indicate on the screen.
I see no one else that wishes to ask specific questions or speak in opposition.
Okay, thank you, Sarah. So we'll go to questions from the board, but before we do that, there seems to be an awful lot of interference coming from somewhere. Mark or Sarah, can you zero in on where that's coming from?
It sounds like papers rustling.
Yeah, it does. Is there?
The only thing I would suggest, Mark, if people who are calling on the phone, do you know how to have them be able to mute themselves?
They can use *6 to mute and unmute their phones. I can also mute them. I believe that it's maybe Mr. Norcross or Mr. Nixon.
Well, it's not me because I'm not fumbling around with my papers. So Mr. Norcross is.
I might be guilty of that. My apologies, Mr. Nixon.
Okay, thank you very much. Okay, so let's go to questions from the board. So, Happy, do you have any questions? I will take that as a no. Buck, do you have any questions?
Buck has no questions.
Dennis?
Dennis Sullivan, I have no questions.
Dave Thompson?
Dave Thompson has no questions either.
Megan?
Megan Story has no questions.
Dave Veach?
Dave Veach has no questions.
Paul?
Paul Semple has no questions.
And I have no questions. And I don't know, Happy, are you back with us?
I'm back with you. I have no questions.
Okay, very good. Okay, then Paul, we entertain a motion.
Yes, this is Paul Semple. I'll move to close the hearing and move into deliberations.
Okay.
8 seconds.
All right. And then voting on that, Dave Veach?
Veach votes yes.
Paul?
Semple votes yes.
Happy?
Happy votes yes.
Buck?
Buck votes yes.
And I vote yes. So deliberations, let's start with Buck.
Well, it seems to be a pretty straightforward application. I have no problem with it, and I'd vote in favor.
Dennis?
Dennis Sullivan, if I were voting, I would certainly vote in favor of it. Pretty straightforward. No big issue.
Dave Thompson?
Very nice looking project. If I was voting, I would definitely vote yes.
Megan?
I agree.
Dave Veach?
Yes, it meets all the criteria and is certainly not substantially more detrimental to the neighborhood, and so I will support.
Paul?
Yes, I agree. This is clearly meets the criteria of the ordinance.
Happy?
And I do get a vote, and I definitely would vote for it.
Okay. Okay, I don't think we have to even consider conditions on this. So, Paul, would you make a motion, please?
Yes, this is Paul Semple. I'll move to approve the application as submitted.
Veach seconds.
Okay, the vote. Dave Veach?
Veach votes yes.
Paul?
Semple votes yes.
Happy?
Happy votes yes.
Buck?
Buck votes yes.
And I vote yes, that's unanimous. Thank you very much, Mr. Norcross.
Thank you very much.
Okay, Sarah, 20-024.
Application number 20-024, Morris Island Nominee Trust, care of William F. Riley Esquire, P.O. Box 707, Chatham, Mass. 02633. Owner of property located at 53 Little Beach Road, also shown on the Town of Chatham's Assessor's Map 16A, Block 26, Lot H52. The applicant seeks to enlarge, extend, or change a non-conforming dwelling on a non-conforming lot via the demolition of the existing dwelling and the construction of a new dwelling. Also proposed is the construction of a new driveway as allowed by special permit under section 4A3D of the bylaw. The existing dwelling is non-conforming and that it is located 32.5 feet from Little Beach Road and within the Coastal Conservancy District. The proposed dwelling will be non-conforming and that it will be located 29.6 feet from Little Beach Road where a 40-foot setback is required and will remain within the Coastal Conservancy District where a 50-foot setback is required. The existing building coverage is 1,412 square feet, and the proposed building coverage is 1,806 square feet, where 2,800 square feet is the maximum allowed. The lot is non-conforming and that it contains 0 square feet of buildable upland where 20,000 square feet is required, and contains 28,900 square feet where 40,000 square feet is required in the R40 zoning district. A special permit is required under Mass General Law, Chapter 40A, Sections 6 and 9, and Sections 5B and 8D 2B of the Chatham Protective Bylaw. This was continued from July 9th, October 8th, and December 17th of 2020.
Mr. Riley.
Good afternoon, Mr. Chairman. Bill Riley on behalf of Morris Island Nominee Trust. The team today is Thad Eldridge is our engineer, Mark Zebrat is the building designer, and we have Mark Poreski, who is the new trustee of the Morris Island Nominee Trust, who's the owner of the building. And Mr. Poreski would like to address the members before we start.
Very well, Mr. Persky, the floor is yours.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you for this opportunity. I started coming to Chatham over 40 years ago with my parents. My son took his first steps on a beautiful sunny day in Chatham many years ago, and now I have 3 children who just love to spend their summers in Chatham. I can't even think about how many of the band concerts I've been to. And this house for me is a place where my family can go and can gather, and where my children can bring their significant others and eventually my grandchildren. Obviously, we've been before you a couple times here, and I'm actually grateful to the commission and to my neighbors, in fact, because based on your comments and based on your feedback, we made changes specifically addressing these comments and feedback that I think have created a house that, although smaller than the original, is much nicer looking, is much more capey. I guess, as you can see up on the front with the 3 small dormers on the 2nd floor instead of the original plan that we showed you. And we positioned it to protect the views and the vistas of the neighbors and to be an upgrade to the neighborhood. And so I guess I would say, although I was originally quite disappointed with the results of not being successful in our first meeting together, I'm actually pleased that the process has resulted in a better outcome for all of us. And through this process, I've also had the opportunity to meet and form nice relationships with my neighbors, which I expect will be long lasting. So I just wanted to say I appreciate your consideration of the new design. I think it merits approval, and it certainly is no more detrimental to the neighborhood, but I think real improvement. And thank you very much for hearing this today.
Okay, Mr. Riley.
Thank you very much. So Mark Zebrat is with us also, and I'd just like to have him describe sort of the changes he made that would reflect the comments made by the members at the last meeting. Mark Zebrat?
Yes, I'm here. You hear me?
Yes.
Good afternoon, members of the board. I've been working with Ms. Poreski for quite a long time now. I've been listening to all the hearings and meetings and discussions over the projects. I've listened to the abutters' comments, to the board's comments, and had numerous meetings with Mr. Poreski to develop a new plan, which we think is going to resolve most of those issues that came up before the board. What we have done, we looked at a number of different ways to reconfigure the roof to get rid of that huge gambrel which faced on the street side of the building, to soften its side. In looking in the many different roof configurations we could use, we decided to use the 3 doghouse dormers on the street side, get rid of the large gambrel and pull it down. We do still use gambrels on the project, but I found in trying to redesign the building and scale it down, using traditional gables gave me such flat roof pitches which were not desirable. I think you can see that happen on some of the larger houses down on Little Beach that they didn't use a gambrel style and used a pitched roof. And some of those roof lines were less than what I would like to see. Overall, we also tried to reduce the size of the building. I spent much time with Mr. Pereski reviewing the needs and wants of his family. We went through each room in the house, trying to reduce the width as much as we could to get it down to meet his current needs and future needs for the project. As a result, we were able to reduce the building by 4 feet. And I think in your packet, you will see a footprint of the existing structure with an overlay of the new structure. And you can see that it's really not substantially different in overall footprint. Really, the difference is the increase in the second floor area. The existing dwelling does have second floor area. A lot of it consists of loft areas. Ours is trying to develop full usable second floor area for bedrooms. I think overall it's a much better project. I think from the street side it's a much better appearance than what we had originally proposed, and I'd like to see your board review it and approve it. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Zebrad. Mr. Riley?
Thank you. Then Thad Eldridge is with us, and I just want to have him run through his plans. Thad, are you there?
Hi. Can you hear me now?
Yes.
All righty. So Thad Eldridge, East Southeast. Originally, this building was twisted, and we've now returned it to basically the same footprint where the building now sits. It was based on some abutter comments and wanting to maintain a view to the south. The septic system has been proposed on a knoll that's next to the building. That does have to be built up in order to comply with the health requirements. But it is still lower than the first floor of the proposed dwelling. We're proposing the first floor at elevation 15, which is 2 feet above the base flood elevation. It's slightly higher than what's required, but we do expect a new FEMA map to come out in a year now and raise the flood levels yet again. We've found that problem with many properties in the floodplain, that they go to the effort of building everything in compliance and then lose their compliance when FEMA changes. The rotation of the building did decrease the driveway a little bit. And otherwise, if there are questions, I'm happy to answer them.
Thank you, Thad. Mr. Riley?
Thank you. Because we've been here before, I can do a quick run through on the criteria.
All right.
And then we can discuss the issue. So adequacy of the size of the site. So the lot's got 28,900 square feet. Our project is going to increase the footprint by 308 square feet of coverage. So the total coverage is going to be 1,720 square feet. Compatibility of the size of the project with the proposed structure with neighboring properties, and we're going to have, as I say, a footprint of 1,720 square feet. And if you look on the assessor's map, the existing building is already 50 feet as you look at it from the street. So we're only increasing that by 3 feet. Actually a total of 4 feet. So it's from one side to the other is 54 feet instead of 53. So not a significant increase in size. And if you look, I know we always have these discussions about where the neighborhood is. This is already one of the larger buildings. I know 35 Little Beach, which is the Eaton's, is larger than ours on footprint. And some of the buildings over on Morris Island Road are quite substantial. I don't know that it's fair to compare us to the tiny little cottages on Lobster Lane and Scallop Terrace, unless we're also going to include the motel, which is down at the end of the street. So we're going to be increasing the floor area from the existing 2,396 square feet by 799 square feet to 3,195. So we will be larger than quite a few of the buildings, but we still think the neighborhood consists of the buildings on Little Beach that have been substantially increased in size, so we think we are compatible with other properties in the neighborhood. The extent of increase in the proposed non-conforming nature, obviously it's a residential use, and that's not going to change. We think that because we're elevating the structure above the base flood elevation, the proposed dwelling changes from non-conforming with respect to the floodplain and becomes conforming with respect to bylaw section Roman numeral B, floodplain district. The increase in the footprint is 308 square feet, which would increase the nonconformity of the structure. But by working with the neighbors to locate the home in a position to preserve views, the front nonconforming setback becomes more nonconforming. Actually, the numbers are a tad misleading because the building's elevated. Now we need steps to get down to the ground level, and the steps are only 12.5 feet from the street, but the house itself is 25.5 feet back from the street. And of course, nobody uses the street because it dead ends in front of our house. So we think that in terms of that nonconformity, it's not significant. And we do meet the setback requirements on our sidelines. Suitability of the site, including impact on neighboring properties. And this is a question whether the site is suitable for the proposed construction. And we have been to the Conservation Commission several times, and there must be a letter in there, but they have indicated that they're prepared to issue an order of conditions that will enable us to construct the building. We think that their determination really is what governs the question of whether it's a suitable site. If you've been out to the site, a concrete retaining wall was built, I don't know, many, many, many years ago. We don't even know when. And so we pose no threat to the beaches or any of the more waterfront properties. So all the work's going to be done within that retaining wall. Impact on scale, siting, and mass with neighborhood visual character, including neighborhood views, vistas, and streetscapes. I think one of the difficulties we face in projects like this is the fact that the house has to be elevated, and the comments were made last time about the fact that it's an elevated landform, but it was elevated long before we had zoning or conservancy district requirements. And so we're just working with the hand that we were dealt. I don't think it's fair to burden this applicant with a concern because we're working on an elevated landform. As Mr. Paretsky said, he's worked with his neighbors, the Larnagans and the Eatons, to adjust the location so that their views and vistas are protected. I mean, I know there's been correspondence from others whose properties front on Morris Island Road, and candidly, it's hard for me to believe that we're going to have a significant impact on their views and vistas. We think the streetscape, constitutes an improvement. Mark's design is a handsome one, as his designs always are, and so we think that the scale. When we have a 29,000 square foot lot, the siting is determined by trying to protect the views and vistas of our neighbors, and I think the mass of the building has been reduced greatly by Mark's revision, Mark's Z-best position in the design. So we think that this is clearly not substantially more detrimental to the neighborhood. Compatibility of the proposed use with neighboring uses, it's a single-family residence in a single-family neighborhood. Adequacy of sewage disposal and source of water drains. We're going to have a brand new septic system, as Thad indicated, and we're going to have what we call a IA system, which has a denitrifying aspect to it, so that the effluent that goes into the groundwater will actually be cleaner than the existing system. So ultimately, if we ever get around to creating the condominium so we can move 47 Little Beach, they'll be on a common septic system. Impact on traffic flow and safety. It's a single-family residence at the end of a dead-end road, so we think there's no impact on traffic flow and safety. The existing trash dumpster at 46, 47, and 53 will be removed, and trash cans will be stored beneath the houses, out of sight, improving that aspect of the property. And the utilities and other public services are clearly adequate. So we think that the proposal is not substantially more detrimental to the neighborhood than the existing development, and will be in keeping with the Chatham Protective Bylaw, particularly as it relates to the Conservancy Overlay District regulations. So we think the criteria is satisfied and it would be appropriate for you to issue a special permit as requested. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Riley. I would now ask if there's anyone in the audience that would like to speak in favor of this application. If so, please indicate on the screen now so that Sarah can recognize you.
I see no one that wishes to speak in favor of the application.
Okay, then I will read the correspondence. First, on January 14th, the Conservation Commission, with Acting Conservation Agent Paul Whiteman writing, says, on January 13th, the Commission continued the matter at the request of the applicant to February 10th. No decision or testimony was taken at the January 13th hearing. Then we have a memo. This is from Judith Giorgio, Board of Health, Town of Chatham. This dates back to October 6th. I've reviewed the revised proposed plan for this property. The Health Division will need detailed existing floor plans of the property for review to confirm existing bedroom number. In addition, the proposed septic system must be submitted for review and permitting. Variances may be required by the Board of Health. Then on January 25th, Kermit Eaton wrote to Sarah, and he writes, "We have been advised by Mr. Paretsky that there have been no changes to the plans we reviewed on 9/28 and were submitted to the ZBA on 10/8 for the hearing on Thursday of that time. We have no objections to the plans for Lot 53. Then on Thursday, October 1st, 2020, Kermit Eaton wrote, after the 7/9 ZBA meeting, Mr. Paretsky contacted us to discuss the concerns expressed by the abutters, said he would request his engineer to take these concerns into consideration on their resubmittal. On 9/28, Mr. Paretsky emailed us the plans that will be submitted to the ZBA on 10/8. Based on our review, we are pleased with the changes proposed." Then he writes about Lot 47, but since we're not talking about that, we'll go on to what he writes about Lot 53. This building has also been moved westerly from the previous submission with a contrasting design and, in our opinion, consistent with the other homes in the area. While the footprint and square footage remain about the same as the previous submission, we do not have concerns on that issue because the other accommodating changes Mr. Paretsky has made. We support the proposed plans we reviewed on 9/28. We request that the ZBA add a condition that the concrete barriers be screened as were done on Lot 46, with appropriate vegetation. We believe Mr. Paretsky will agree to this. And again, that was from Kermit and Jean Eaton, 13 Little Beach Road. Then we have a letter written on January 27th. This is from Janet and Bill Dugan, 16 Little Beach Road. The applicant is proposing to enlarge a non-conforming dwelling and enlarge the footprint of the dwelling. If this enlargement is to be approved, the applicant should be required to demolish the non-conforming dwelling at 49 Little Beach Road and combine the two non-conforming lots of 53 and 49 Little Beach Road into one lot. This would reduce the non-conformance of this application. Furthermore, we still have all the same concerns that we expressed in our last letter to the town of Chatham regarding the dumpster that has been used to service these rental units for many years. Metal dumpsters are not compatible with the character of our neighborhood and should be prohibited in the future. Furthermore, the dumpster has been located in Little Beach Road, which is a town road. Placing private facilities on the town road should also be prohibited. Thank you for your consideration. So that is the extent of the correspondence. I don't know, Sarah, did you get anything new after that?
I did not receive any additional correspondence.
Okay. Very good. Then now I will ask for anyone in the audience who has a specific question or would like to speak against this application to please raise your hand so that Sarah can recognize you.
I see no one that has a specific question or would like to speak in opposition.
Okay, then we'll go to questions from the board. We'll start with Dennis.
Yeah, Dennis Sullivan. Bill, I just have one question. Is there, I know it's kind of difficult to come up with a landscaping plan on this lot, but I was wondering if anything has been developed in that regard.
Yes, in fact, Mr. Paretsky's engaged the services of Crawford Land Management, and they presented, we did it through the Conservation Commission, but they presented a land management plan that calls for the removal of some invasives and shows. I beg your pardon? Hello?
We are still hearing you, Mr. Riley.
Okay, I thought I heard somebody say something. I'm sorry.
I did too. I don't know who that was.
The phantom shouter. Anyway,
yes.
So we do have a land management plan. I'm sorry we don't. We didn't have it as a part of this project, part of this presentation, but we do have. It's from Crawford Land Management, and we did it with the Conservation Commission.
Just as a follow-up, is the landscaping plan gonna, will there be anything from the street looking at the house that would take away from the massiveness, quote unquote, of the house?
Well, no, candidly, they were more concerned about what was going on the water side, and there were invasives there in the I think that looking at that, you want to put up the site plan for a minute?
Sure. Let me.
There you go. All right. So what we could do, Dennis, obviously, I appreciate the concern. I think it's a good one. After the installation of the septic system, they could do some planting for the 25.1 between the septic system and the property line, Thad. Yeah, there, right there. We could do some plantings in there, between there and going to the north from there, Thad, along the frontage. Then there you go. And through there, we could do some planting. That might take some of the curse off it. I would happy to have that as a condition.
Okay, that's fine. That's all I had. Thank you.
Okay, continuing with the questions, Dave Thompson.
Dave Thompson doesn't have any questions of Mr. Riley, but definitely likes the idea of some plantings out there. Of course, that would have to be conditioned by the Conservation Commission, wouldn't it, Bill?
Well, yeah, but it's amazing, Dave. They like it when you plant things, particularly when they're natives. So I would not anticipate any objection from the Conservation Commission. But you're right; we'd have to change the plans that we submitted to Conservation at our next meeting with them. Easy to do.
So we really don't know what they're going to have to say, do we?
Well, I guess here's the thing: we can't propose Leyland cypress, which would be something that would grow, but there are native species that over time, takes a while, but over time, would grow to be 10 or 15 feet high. We don't want them too high because then we're going to be blocking people's views. It would just be something that would kind of take the curse off, the exposed portion of the basement, the garage doors and such. We can't have them be too tall because then, the neighbors have a problem with them.
Right, but we still don't know. They're satisfied with where the house is and all this, and they're satisfied with the septic system. We just have to figure out, they have to figure out their planting, their mitigation and all that. Is that true?
Well, no, that's all been, we already have a mitigation plan with them, which has been approved or has been viewed with approval. I wouldn't say they've actually approved it because there's been no vote. But in terms of planting, there are I can tell you that if we went back to the Conservation Commission and said we'd look to put 10 eastern red cedars there that are 6 to 8 feet tall and would most likely grow to be, maybe 10 or 12 feet tall, that they would welcome us, and you, Dave, as the conquering hero for bringing this up.
I apologize.
It's not like, we're going to propose this, and they're going to say, wait a minute, we have to reconsider the whole project. They would say,
I promise I won't make a phone call.
the plantings that we'd be proposing wouldn't be mitigation, they would be landscaping. They would still have to come from the native list. We'd be limited, beech plum, bayberry, eastern red cedar. And then the commission would be very happy to remove lawn, be it native lawn or turf lawn, but to plant shrubs instead, they would be very receptive.
Okay, thank you very much.
And as I said, we'd be happy to accept that as a condition.
Sarah?
Yes, Mr. Nixon.
Sarah?
Yes, can you hear me, David?
I can. I don't know what happened. It says, oh dear, your call has dropped. Please try again, whatever that means. Anyway, all right, I'm back. So, Mr. Thompson, did you finish your questioning?
I did, sir. Thank you.
Okay. Megan, questions from you?
I have no questions at this time.
Okay. Mr. Veach?
No, David Veach has no questions.
Paul?
I had just a few questions. Bill, I'm trying to recall now, as I understand it, lot 47 was withdrawn, and that has yet to be dealt with, and that's going to be dealt with in the future?
Yes, the building commissioner, Jay Briggs, felt that we were requesting permission to move the building further south. That would aid the Lonergan's concerns, and the Jay felt that I think the world of Jay. I don't necessarily agree with him, but he felt that moving the building over was something that you didn't have the authority to approve on a special permit. So the only way we can resolve that is to merge the two lots so there's no lot line between them, and then do that by a deed of condominium. Then there's no lot line for the building to move over, and we would come back with a different proposal sometime. I hate to say this, sort of well in the future, because all this property is registered land with the land court, and if you think the wheels of justice grind slowly in a criminal setting, I could have a beard as big as Buck's by the time they're done doing this condominium thing. So it's going to be quite a while before we come back with that. But, Paul, I wanted to, I made a mistake the last time you and I were discussing this, and you asked me whether the new building represented a doubling in size of the existing building. And I rather cavalierly said yes. And I was not aware that there was living space on the second floor of the existing building. And there's right now there's 716 square feet of living space on the second floor, lofts and rooms and things, and so the total living area of the existing building is 2,396 square feet, and what we're proposing is 3,195 square feet, which is an increase of 800 square feet. So clearly not a doubling. So I apologize for having misspoken.
That's all right. I understand that. I think you actually had corrected that at the last hearing, because your client called in and made that observation. And I think actually, going way back, one of the comments about why additional bedrooms was appropriate was the fact that the loft space that's there now is being used for sleeping purposes. But in any case, so I'm a little confused. I thought that where we were at was that 47 and 53 were separate lots, and then they were merged for condominium purposes, and then they were then again separated.
Well, I apologize for creating the confusion. We were representing that they would be merged for a condominium, not that they'd been done, because the land court marches to its own drummer, the drummer who beats very, very slowly, by the way. We simply were just talking about doing it, not that it actually been done. It's a very lengthy process to merge the two lots.
All right, that's all right. I was confused, I guess. And under the current proposal for 53, is the wall by the septic being extended?
That's a Thad question. Thad?
Hello. Yes, the wall would be extended at this time because 47 would still be at, the ground around it would be around elevation 10. The ground above the septic is just above 13. So we'd have a 3-foot wall coming from one end to the other.
So your existing wall is at 8 feet elevation, and the new one would be at 13?
Yes, that wall would have to step up as it heads back to the septic system to retain the dirt that would be put in to support that septic. The current septic system is pretty close to groundwater, and the proposed septic system will meet the 5-foot separation.
So that new septic system then will be elevated from where what currently exists will be elevated up how far?
At that point, it's about 3 feet, I believe, that it goes up.
Okay. And the elevation overall is going to be at 38.1 feet with the existing ridge at 30.9. So it's basically going up about 8 feet.
It's going up 7.1 feet, Paul.
7.1, okay.
Yeah, and 2.4 feet of that is what's necessary to bring the first floor above the base flood elevation.
Right.
So the house between the top of foundation and the ridge is increasing in height by what's the number, Thad?
About 5 feet, just under 5.
Just under 5 feet. Yeah, 4 point something feet.
4.8.
In looking at the new elevation A, which is the front view of the structure, I was a little confused by the hill or whatever it seems to be on the right-hand side there. Is the building going into a hill?
So it's actually hillside being cut away. The house itself right now sits on a little bit of a hill.
Right.
And for the garage, there would be hillside taken away, creating that hill effect to the right.
Now, I didn't see that hill on elevation A in the prior plan. Is that, am I misreading that, or? In other words, in the plan that did not have the doghouse dormers, but was elevation A, it doesn't appear to be going into the hill of any significant amount, and you're shortening the house. So I was trying to figure out why it seems to be going into the hill now.
So when we rotated the building back to be in the same orientation as the current building,
yeah,
we flipped it so that the garage is on the left side instead of being on the right side.
I understand.
So
but the elevation A that I'm looking at the current one is the one that's dated 12/12/20. The prior elevation A, which was the one that I had the discussion with Bill about, that looked more like an apartment building, I didn't think it was quite as attractive, but that elevation A also has the garages on the left-hand side, but it doesn't have any hill that you're going into on the right-hand side.
Thad, do you have elevation A from the old design?
What's the date on that one?
Well, it doesn't actually have a date.
Is that from the July 9th meeting?
No, this is the one which was proposed and eliminated the other gambrel concept, and it was a revision, I think, because the neighbors thought it looked more attractive.
Good afternoon. This is Mark. Can I help in any way?
Sure. Maybe you can explain that to me, Mark.
What I can explain to you is that on this final reiteration, I was trying to be very definitive with what the grades are around the building. The previous drawing, I may not have been as definitive. These numbers and these elevations I feel very comfortable with. What I do is I look at Thad's topographic information, I take it point by point and go around the buildings. So what you're seeing on this current 53 Little Beach elevation sheet A1 is pretty close to correct.
Okay, all right. So the old one just didn't reflect it as accurately, perhaps, as this one does.
Might be a Scribner's error.
Okay, all right.
Okay. So the grading shown on that elevation was from Mark Zivat and not from Thad.
Okay. I don't think I have any other questions.
Okay, questions from Happy. Happy, are you there?
I'm here. I forgot to unmute myself.
Okay.
I have no question.
Okay, Buck, questions?
Yeah, I have one question for Mr. Riley. You mentioned that you didn't think it was fair to compare this house to the 20 or 25 houses located, and I think you specifically mentioned Lobster Lane, but maybe also Starfish and Seagull. Why isn't it fair to compare this house to that neighborhood?
A long time ago, I was representing one of the owners on Scallop Terrace and trying to enlarge the building. And Mr. Litchfield was representing one of the neighbors who was objecting. And I was using the overall neighborhood as why that building wasn't too large. And Mr. Litchfield, using great flights of oratory, convinced the members of the zoning board at that time that was the neighborhood. Scallop Terrace was the neighborhood. So I think that if you look at the assessor's map, you can tell there are 12 tiny cottages, Oyster Lane, Scallop Terrace, and I guess it's just Oyster Lane and Scallop Terrace. And they really are their own neighborhood, and when you come north from there, and they have Clamshell Drive, the structures are in general larger than those, and I think it's fair to look at 53 in that context rather than Scallop Terrace, Lobster Lane, and Oyster Lane.
Yeah, it was all downstairs, yeah.
I'll close the door, please. Sorry. Hello?
Well, I can hear you. What happened to Buck?
I don't know. I can hear fine.
Buck, are
I'm
you
still
here?
here.
Okay,
good.
great. Right.
The silence is scary sometimes.
So have you finished answering Buck's question?
Yes, I did.
Buck, did you have other questions?
No, that was fine. Thank you.
Okay. Then, Paul, I think it's time for a motion to go into deliberations.
All right, this is Paul Semple. I'll move to close the hearing and move into deliberations.
Mr. Chairman, before you do that, I know that we have received in the past letters from folks over on Morris Island Road, and I don't know if they're going to have any impact on the thought process of the members today, but it's clear that from our research, and Thad has done this through high technological stuff, that they don't, that those properties, 191, 171, 157, can't see 53. And Thad would be happy to show you through great technological advances why that is the fact. If you want to give me just a couple of minutes to show you that.
Okay, go ahead.
All righty.
And incidentally, Professor Shuey's letter, he lives at, I believe the number's 32 Clamshell. He doesn't
Right.
live on Morris Island.
And again, if you look at the assessor's map, you know, he's looking at 47, and the Catandela house completely blocks his view of 53. But that's, you know, all right.
Alrighty, so this is a 3D model from the drone from last summer. We have the subject properties, and then Morris Island Road, and those properties in question are up here.
Oh, stop droning around. You're getting me seasick.
Sorry to get you sick.
See, so the red car is Shuey.
Yes. I can put a little.
So go ahead and do whatever you're going to do to show that.
I mean, looking through, there are a number of trees on the Catandela property that are blocking. And from his roof, standing on top of his roof, everything blocks. He can see some of 47 and the front yard of 46. The only view that he'd have of 53 would be through the woods. And while he may be able to see some of it, it's going to be fairly blocked. This was also taken before Mrs. Catandela raised her house. And so that's also going to be limiting the view, the visual impact upon 53. Everything in yellow here is what he would be seeing from, again, standing on his rooftop.
Yeah, can you rotate around to 157 as well? That's one next to the tennis court, right, Dave?
157?
Yeah, that's the one with the tennis court on it.
Okay.
Oh, that's Driscoll's house.
That's right. Yeah, so, right. So Mr. Driscoll sent a letter objecting to our proposal as well. So can you rotate up and see what he would see?
So from his rooftop, looking over, he's going to see some of 47, but the chances of him seeing 53 are are minimal. This blob in the middle being some trees and vegetation that are in the way.
Okay. All right, that's good. Thank you very much for that.
Thank you.
So and then I guess the final question I would put to the members. I mean, so we're raising the building less than 5 feet. So supposing we were raising it only, I mean, the height of the building between foundation and ridge. Supposing we were only raising it 4 feet. I mean, reducing the height by a foot, would that be something that would make it more acceptable? So that's something for you, the members, to consider. We'll be happy to get any suggestions.
Okay, so I'm going back to Paul. Paul, could you?
This is Paul Semple. I'll move to close the hearing and move into deliberations.
Okay, then either Happy, Buck, Dave Thompson, or Megan would need to second that because they are the voters. I'm sorry, Happy is not. Buck, Dave Thompson.
Yeah.
Okay, so then we need to vote on that. So Paul, how do you vote?
Semple votes yes.
Buck?
Did you hear that,
What?
Mr. Chair?
No, I did not.
I'm sorry. Buck votes yes.
Very good. Dave Thompson?
Dave Thompson votes yes also, sir.
Okay, Megan?
Megan Story votes yes.
And I vote yes. Okay, so deliberations. Let's start with Paul.
Well, as this is Paul Semple. As you know, I had some trouble with this property in the last couple of times it's been through. And
Paul, could you speak up because I mean,
as I mentioned before,
Thank you.
I've had some trouble with this property in part because the land itself is already elevated, and when you then elevate on top of that, you end up with a fairly prominent building. The applicants have attempted to deal with that by, in this case, in effect, shortening the width of the building by 4 feet, and certainly appreciate the attempt to reduce the mass. The height problem still remains the same, at least in the sense that the ridge is going up the same amount under this proposal as it was under the prior ones. That has given me some pause because when I go out there and look at it, it seems to me as if when you look at the scale, siding, and mass, the scale will be significantly higher than anything else that's around there. So that's what has given me pause. And I would like the board to consider and discuss. Let's go forward from there.
okay. Buck?
Well, I certainly understand Mr. Semple's dissertation on the height and the scale and the mass, and it certainly is concerning. I note that I believe I'm correct. I did not hear any letters of support from the neighbors. No,
there are letters of support from the neighbors, Buck.
I'm sorry. Thank you. Oh, I forgot to mention, Bill, I did shave my beard. Oh, no, I didn't shave. I didn't shave it. I shortened it. But anyway.
I got a chance then. No, but there were letters of support previously from Lonergan and Eaton and I think one other person. So,
okay. All right. Thank you.
I apologize for interrupting.
Not at all. I stand corrected and I appreciate it. My biggest concern was I wasn't persuaded by your reasons for saying it wasn't fair to compare this application to the houses on seagull, scallop, starfish, lobster, and some of those. I think this is just my opinion, I feel that that is the predominant neighborhood, and I think we got a problem. And those are my comments.
Okay, Happy, did you want to make any comments on this? I know you're not voting, but you're welcome to comment.
Thank you, David. But I think I'll pass on this one.
Okay, Dennis, your comments.
No, I have no comments since I'm not voting. Thank you.
Okay. Dave Thompson.
Thank you for calling on me. It's a beautiful home that Mark has designed. It's big. I think we're all used to having small summer cottages down there in that particular area. I like the idea that Bill said that they could drop it down another foot. But still, I could see why some folks have said something about Lobster Lane, but as far as I'm concerned, I don't see where that would be a problem. I don't think I want to follow everybody on this. I would be very tempted to pass it and vote yes, with the stipulation that they drop it down a little bit more, like another foot or so, if that's possible. Thank you for calling on me, Mr. Nixon.
All right, Megan.
It's a tough one. I tend to agree with Dave. I think that they have done a lot of work. Mr. Zebrat has done a lot of work just to try to reduce the scale, or at least the appearance of the scale. It's a very, it's not a summer cottage, but that being said, if you are down there and you sort of do a 360, I saw some summer cottages and I saw some larger homes. I don't know that I've made a decision quite yet. I guess I'll make one soon.
Dave Veach.
Thanks, Dave. I think they've made improvements, and in it all, I would have supported the previous iteration because I think it is. I do see this area as a little bit differently than I see Scallop Terrace and Clamshell Drive in that area over there. Especially when I look up kind of up along the coast there as it goes to the northeast, and I look at some of the projects that on Little Beach Road that have come before us to elevate and that we've approved, and I can pick a number of houses that's been the case, and I don't think, especially there's one especially like at 27 Little Beach Road that's a pretty big, good-sized house by the time it's done, and I had kind of forgotten. I don't know if it's still the same, but a while back I looked at the Google street view of that, and I was shocked to see the size of the cottage that had been there before. Now, certainly it was with our approval, but it's a pretty massive looking building in many respects. So and some of the others that have been enlarged and when they were raised up, I just don't think, I think to me, it's only fair to approve this project, because I don't think it's significantly different than much of what we've already approved there. And we have the elevation issue that we have to deal with, and we'll be further dealing with in that area. So I would be maybe more liberal than some of the other members in my interpretation of things on this, were I voting.
Okay, thank you. So comes to me, my spin on this. there's several things that come to mind. Number one, Mr. Riley brought up the point that the mounding that is in existence that this home is on, that we shouldn't hold against current owner. Well, he bought it this way. So I don't buy that thought that we shouldn't hold against it. He bought it and he knew what he was buying. And it's a huge advantage to those homes that he owns that are there now. So I discount that theory. Secondly, what is the neighborhood? Well, the neighborhood to me is a whole Little Beach area. Bill and Thad have made several points about, well, the people that wrote letters couldn't necessarily see it. Well, if I lived on Lobster Lane, I can't get there unless I drive by. I can't get to the beach unless I walk by it. You know, so this property and the one beside it, and a little bit across the street, it's not that somebody can see it from their porch or their second floor bedroom. It's part of the whole neighborhood, the Little Beach neighborhood. And you ask anybody who lives down there, where do you live? I live in Little Beach. Okay, so that's the 40-odd homes down there. So to me, the neighborhood is everybody. And to me, when I look at the mass of this home and the height of this home, it's out of sync with the rest of the neighborhood. It's just too much. And I understand why. It's because it's going to be built on a mound. Okay, and the mound's there. I can't see myself voting for this current iteration. To me, it is substantially more detrimental to the neighborhood. And again, the neighborhood is everything. Remember, as I said, you got to drive by it. If you're going to the marina, you got to drive by it. You got to go the other way. And this structure is going to loom. I went down there twice and I stood in the cul-de-sac where Little Beach comes into Seagull. And I said, wow, if we're going to add 7.4 feet on top of that bridge, and that's what is happening because of the 2 point, whatever it is, to bring it up another 5 feet, that is just way too much. So Mr. Riley's asked a question, could I be more amenable to it if it wasn't going up that high, which means I'd have to accept the massing of the structure? And I guess the answer would be I would try and find a middle road that if it was brought down, not just a foot, I'd have to see probably 3 or 4 feet that it was brought down, then maybe I could. Then I say maybe. So with that, Mr. Riley, you've heard the opinions, everybody. Would you like me to take a vote or would you like to ask for something?
Good question. If I could have just a moment to consult with my client. So I'm going to mute myself and I'll be right back.
Okay, very good. While Mr. Riley's gone, I should say, Dennis, I believe you're going to be gone the next couple of months, so we wish you well. And don't forget us.
Just so that you know, I did walk each of the properties on the February 11th hearing schedule. Obviously, I don't have access to the file yet, but I know what's going to be done on all those properties. So if you would like me to participate, I certainly could.
Well, your packets will actually be put in the pickup box tomorrow for the February 11th meeting.
Now, yeah, we'd be happy to have you if you could find the time to join us. Sure, absolutely.
Okay, all right, that's fine.
Yeah, just because you're, out on the beach having a pina colada, that's okay with us. We understand.
All right.
So just so you are aware, starting February 11th, our meetings will be going back to our 4 p.m. scheduled start.
Even better.
Just so that way you're not hanging out for an hour in the waiting room.
Right.
We get kicked out because of the finance committee.
Oh, I get you. Okay.
Yeah, and
right.
I got a chuckle today starting to read the Chronicle about everybody's planning for the town meeting in May. I can't see it happening. I just can't see it happening, but hey, maybe I'll be wrong. All they need is 100 people. So anyway, Sarah, while they're gone, could we just throw in here approval of the minutes?
We can do minutes review if you'd like. They would be the minutes of January 14th.
Did anybody have any comments about it?
This would be Paul Semple. I'll move to approve the minutes as published.
Okay.
David Veach seconds.
Okay, so we need to approve that. Mr. Beach?
Veach votes yes.
Paul?
Semple votes yes.
Happy?
Happy votes. Happy
Okay.
votes yes.
Buck?
Buck votes yes.
And I vote yes. Okay. I'm.
Hey, Mr. Chairman,
Yes, sir.
we're back.
Very good.
So I have, a couple of things. The according to Mr. Poretsky's calculations, even including the buildings on Lobster Lane, Oyster Lane, Scallop Terrace, our proposed structure is still below the average of all the buildings. I also want to point out that nobody on Lobster Lane, Oyster Lane, or Scallop Terrace sent a letter of objection. So the question, the last question would be, so I would ask you to take a straw poll of the members to see if we reduce the height by a foot, would we have 4 votes to approve it?
Okay, I can do that for you if you'd like. So I will ask Paul, how would you vote if it was reduced by a foot?
Well, let me say, first of all, I agree with your definition of what the neighborhood would be in overall in this situation. The reduction of a foot from the objection that I had, I don't think would be a significant enough reduction to make a difference. The question would be whether my objection is strong enough that it overcomes the positive views that a number of the other board members have. But that would be my view.
Okay, I'm not too sure which column I'm going to put you in, but okay. Let's see, Buck.
Well, first I'd say I'm not a fan of straw polls. We've had our deliberation, we've asked our questions, and it looks like we're now negotiating.
No, there's no negotiation. He had brought the question up, Buck, about reducing it a foot beforehand. So I'm just trying to answer his question.
I wouldn't support it.
Okay, Mr. Thompson.
I may be the lone wolf here, but I am going to support it.
Okay, Megan?
Hate to sound like a nudge, but I think I would have to see what they do to reduce it a foot and if what they're doing to do that could reduce it a little bit more.
Okay, and from my perspective, I don't think a foot would do it. So I think that answers your question, Mr. Riley. There's 1 in favor, there's 2 definitely against it, and 2 on the fence.
Yeah, I can count. So I think we're going to have one more go around with this.
Okay.
So perhaps if we continue this to March 11th, that means we'd have to get the redesign into you on March 4th. I don't know is Mark Zebrat still with us?
He's probably having his dinner.
I don't blame him. Okay, because I know I'd be on my second cocktail if I wasn't.
Hello?
Hey, Mark.
Yes, sir.
All right, so if we continue this to March 11th, do you think you could work with Mark Poretsky and come up with a revised design by March 4th? We could submit?
I would say I would have to because I'm going to be out of town as of February 28th.
Okay. Good for you.
All right, so before you ask for March 11th, Sarah, I'm going to ask you a question since we've already added
Shell Drive.
Yeah, Shell Drive. How does the 25th look?
So on the 25th, as of right now, this would make the third application for the agenda.
All right, Mr. Riley, I really think March 25th would be a better date.
Well, no, do you mean March 25th or February? Because we have
March 25th.
March 25th, as of right now, has 0 applications on it.
Okay, that's even better. Mr. Riley?
Well, how many do we have on March 11th?
None of your business. Do you want March 25th or not?
All right. Yeah, what am I going to do?
Okay, that's a boy. All right, Paul, could you make a motion, please, for March 25th?
Yes, this is Paul Semple. I'll move to continue the hearing to March 25th, 2021.
Okay. A second, please?
I can second. This is Megan.
Thank you. Okay, then we'll vote on that. Paul?
Semple votes yes.
Buck?
Buck votes yes.
Dave Thompson?
Dave Thompson votes yes.
Megan?
Story votes yes.
And I vote yes. That's a unanimous vote. Thank you very much, Mr. Riley, Mr. Paretsky, Mr. Eldridge, Mr. Zebrat. Did I miss anybody? And we'll see everybody on March 26th.
Thank you.
Okay, so let's go on, Sarah, to 20-087.
Application number 20-087, Karen Butters Pogge, care of Thad Eldridge, 1038 Main Street, Chatham, Mass. 02633. Owner of property located at 342 Pleasant Street, also shown on the Town of Chatham's Assessor's Map 2A, Block 75, Lot 5X. The applicant seeks to enlarge, extend, or change a non-conforming dwelling on a non-conforming lot via the construction of additions. The existing dwelling is non-conforming in that it is located 8.4 feet from the westerly abutter, where a 15-foot setback is required. The proposed additions will comply with all bulk and dimensional requirements of the bylaw, but is considered a substantial alteration, and under the second except clause of Section 6 of Mass General Law, Chapter 40A, such substantial alteration requires the grant of a special permit. The existing building coverage is 1,480 square feet, 7.9%, and the proposed building coverage is 2,530 square feet, 13.5%, where 15% is the maximum allowed. The lot is non-conforming in that it contains 18,770 square feet, where 20,000 square feet is required in the R20 zoning district. A special permit is required under Mass General Law, Chapter 40A, Section 6, and Section 5B of the Chatham Protected Bylaw.
Okay, Thad, are you there?
That I am.
All right, the floor is yours.
Thank you so much.
Okay.
So, we have Paul Muldoon, he's the architect, and Karen Pogge, the property owner. They're on the line if there are questions for them. And I see that Sarah's put up the vicinity map showing this house in relation to the houses within the neighborhood or the immediate vicinity. So the Pogges have owned this property for a couple of years now. They've been planning an addition and they've been working with Paul Muldoon for most of that time, or all of that time. They actually, when they were looking to purchase the property, they were walking it with him. They are proposing a couple of additions. One is a garage coming out the back, a little bit of a porch out the front, and excellent. And an addition out the back as well. They're keeping it a similar style as the current building. They really like the one, so they don't want to take away from that. To run through the criteria very quickly.
Go ahead.
The building coverage is increasing from about 8% to about 13.5%. That is 2,530 square feet of total coverage, including the garage that they have to the north of the property. The maximum allowed is 2,800 square feet. Compatibility, they'll have the largest footprint in the immediate vicinity at 2,168 There are two nearby that are 1,930 square feet. And one of those is a 2.5-story home. It certainly has more mass than what's proposed, which is a 1.5 or 1 3/4 dwelling. There's no increase in the non-conforming nature of the structure. We're proposing all conforming additions. The reason we're here is because the lot is a little bit under the 20,000 square foot required. So the proposal will have minimum impact on the neighboring properties. We're looking at minimal regrading. Our nearest wetlands, they're more than 100 feet away. Stormwater runoff will be contained on the site. So we're looking to enhance that existing structure. We're not affecting any views. Again, the architectural plans really draw from the existing structure and maintaining that for the neighborhood visual character. So the proposed use is residential. That's certainly compatible. We've been before the Board of Health to add an additional bedroom with an innovative alternative septic system that will be cleaner for the environment. We're not anticipating any change on the traffic flow, noise, litter. The utilities are adequate, and it's not a formula business or in the floodplain. Many of the neighbors have written in support. One neighbor has written in opposition, and we didn't see in their letter where they were concerned with the actual proposal. So if there are questions, I'm happy to answer them.
Okay, thank you very much. I will now ask for anybody in the audience who wishes to speak in favor to so indicate to Sarah so she can recognize you.
I see no one that wishes to speak in favor of the application.
Okay, I will read the correspondence. First, we have from Judith Giorgio, Health Agent, Board of Health, on January 26. She writes, I have reviewed the plan to renovate the property. Proposed plan shows an increase in septic flow from 3 to 4 bedrooms. Board of Health approved an ASS, that's alternative septic system, to allow the 4th bedroom on January 4th, 2021. The property will be deed restricted to 4 bedrooms. I have no concerns currently. Then we have an email. This is from Bill Poole, whose address is 10 Uncle Levi's Lane. He writes on January 26th, I'm writing this letter in support as a full-time, long-time resident neighbor. I can't emphasize how much of an asset they have been to the neighborhood over the decades. I live adjacent to Steve's mother on Uncle Levi's Lane and very close to the Pleasant Street property. I can vouch that both properties have always been well kept and maintained. The improvements they've made thus far at 342 since Karen and Steve purchased the property have been very appealing and have added to the ambiance of the area. I feel strongly that this project will have a positive impact in the area and will not have any negative effect to abutters or nearby neighbors. The non-conforming square footage of the lot size is so minor, I believe a variance is more than justified. If the build goes according to plan, South Chatham will be even nicer than it already is. Thank you for your consideration. And we have an email. This is from Jack White. He writes on January 22nd. My wife and I want to give our support to the planned renovation. They have a very nice renovation plan that retains the feel of the property while upgrading it to a year-round full-time residence. I've lived and owned the house at 19 Uncle Levi's Lane for over 70 years and very interested in the area. I'm hoping their plans are reviewed and accepted by the zoning board. Then we have another email. This is from Angela Yotides, Yotides. I'm sure I didn't pronounce that right. Sorry, Angela. She writes on January 24th, I'm writing this letter in strong support of the zoning decision regarding 342. My husband, Chris, and I own 335 directly across the street. These folks are great neighbors and have already made impressive improvements to the grounds and a positive impact on the neighborhood. The impending renovations to the home only further solidifies their commitment and investment to our beloved community. Chris and I wholeheartedly support the zoning decision Please reach out if you have any questions. Then we have a note from email from Chet and Joan Moore, M-O-H-R, and their address is 2 Wadsworth Road. They write on January 19th, we're writing in support of the proposed addition at 342. As close neighbors, we're familiar with the size of the project, which seems reasonable for the lot, is in keeping with the appearance of the neighborhood and certainly smaller than many newer homes in the neighborhood. We also favor addition/renovation over the recent trend of tearing down older homes. As nearby neighbors, we support the proposed addition. Then we have a letter with several maps, but I can't read the map. We have a letter, this is from Daniel A. DePompey, and he writes on, well, I don't know when, but I guess it must have been recent. Let's see, might be a date on one of these. Don't see it. Okay, I'll just read it. I do not support the continued substantial alteration of 342 without appropriate approved mitigation for the alterations. I have owned the direct abutting property 350 for 45 years. Rental of my property represents a significant portion of my retirement income. Primary attractions of my property are 1, it's clean, 2, it's close to Nantucket Sound, 3, it's quiet and offers privacy to the renters. In September and October of 2020, 342 built a 700-foot estimated artificially elevated patio and fire pit on the south end of the house. Over 300 feet of the new structure is in the abutter setback and another 150 is in the town setback. The structure was carefully crafted as a hardscape landscape structure within the current protective bylaws and did not require permitting or discussion with abutters. The alterations at 342 create a significant loss of privacy at 350. The artificially elevated structure creates a direct line of sight into the bedroom windows at 350. When our windows are open, and parentheses, we do not have air conditioning, every word of conversation flows from the elevated structure into our bedrooms. When there is a fire in the pit, smoke and smell migrate into our bedrooms. While the bylaws allow artificial elevation of structure/property with, quote, retaining walls, unquote, they specifically prohibit privacy fences over 6 feet high. I'm requesting relief from this height limit to extend the existing privacy fence as shown on a drawing he submitted. And the site plan, I believe privacy can be restored and noise and smoke mitigated if the allowable fence height is approved to a total height of 8 feet, as it follows the existing natural elevation of the property. Please include my requested mitigations in any/all discussions related to the substantial alteration of 342. I can be reached and so forth. So Sarah has the proposed privacy fence and also the expanded site plan. If anybody wishes to see it, I think Sarah can put one of those on right now. There you go. That's the proposed privacy fence. And the second one would be the site plan showing. So with that, I would ask if there's anybody in the audience who wishes to speak either against this project or has specific questions to so indicate to Sarah so she can recognize you.
There is Mr. DePompey has his hand raised and would like to speak.
Okay, Mr. DePompey, I just read your letter. Do you have something additional to add to it?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Yeah, first of all, the date is on page 1, and it was 16 January.
There you go. Thank you very much. I didn't see it. That's my error. Thank you.
No, that's fine. So I just want to clarify. I'm not really against the project. I'm just saying that the project does in fact affect abutters, and because it affects me as an abutter in such a way that I also would have to ask permission from the ZBA to go above 6 feet, that I'm perfectly happy with the project as long as I can reestablish the privacy through the privacy fence.
I just wanted to add that. Okay. The first sentence was perhaps a little strong. I'm not saying I don't like the project. I think the project is wonderful. It's just that right now, because of the regrading of the property, which was done as part of the overall project, I have significantly lost privacy and use of my house, which is primarily for summer rental and income. So I'm here to answer any questions on that basis. And thank you very much, Mr. Chair, for letting me speak.
Okay, I should point out to you, Mr. DePompe, that the hearing today does not concern the fire pit or the patio. So that's not something we're going to get into. What we are going to decide on are the specific additions that they wish to add to the house. But you've asked an interesting question, and it would be something you would have to ask to the property owners at a different time regarding the fence and all that kind of stuff. But as far as we're concerned, it's not part of the application or our decision. Okay, so I will now go. Was there anybody else, Sarah, who had their hand up?
I see no one else with their hand raised.
Okay, thank you very much. So, Thad, I don't think you need to rebut anything that that gentleman said, because it really is a different discussion. If you disagree with me, the floor is yours if you wish.
I only point out that he feels that what's on the proposal is reasonable.
Okay, so let's go to questions from the board, and we'll start with Dave Thompson. No, we'll start with Megan.
I have no questions on this one.
Okay, Dave Veach.
Dave Veach has no questions.
Paul?
Paul Sample has no questions.
Happy?
Happy has no questions.
Buck?
Buck has no questions.
Dennis?
Dennis Sullivan, no questions.
Dave Thompson?
Dave Thompson has no questions, sir.
Okay, and I don't either. So Paul, motion please.
Yes, this is Paul Semple. I'll move to close the hearing and move into deliberations.
David Veach seconds.
Okay, we need a vote. Dave Veach?
Yes, Veach votes yes.
Paul?
Sample votes yes.
Happy?
Happy votes yes.
Buck?
Buck votes yes.
And I vote yes. So deliberations, let's start with Dave Veach.
I think this project is a very nice project. It's well designed, minimal impact on the neighborhood. It's meets all of our criteria. It's certainly not substantially more detrimental, and I will support it.
Okay, Paul.
Yes, this is Paul Semple. I agree with Dave Veach's comments.
Happy?
I agree also, but might like to add that this is probably one of the best designs I've ever seen while I've been on the board. It's so in keeping with Cape Cod, and I think it's great. And I would suggest to the neighbor to talk to the owner and talk about a natural fence as opposed to a wooden fence. Leland cypress or something like that could give them a lot more privacy. But I know that's a different issue, but I would be voting in favor.
Buck?
Well, it's certainly not more detrimental to the neighborhood, so I have no issues with it.
Dennis?
Yeah, Dennis Sullivan. If I were voting, I certainly would vote in favor of it. Meets all our standards, and I think Happy has addressed the interesting proposal that probably could be arranged between the two of them.
Dave Thompson?
I agree with everyone else. I would vote for it.
Megan?
I agree. I think it's beautiful, very much in keeping with the neighborhood.
And I agree also. So does anybody, well, I should ask Thad, when you believe this project would start and when would it end?
That is a very good question. I believe that they do want to use the property this summer, and it would be very intrusive. Are you considering the no summertime construction?
Yes, that's what I have in the back of my mind, yeah.
Well, since she's logged in, Karen is on, she can certainly answer that. Would she be willing to accept a restriction on summertime construction?
Yeah, Karen, this is Dave Nixon. The reason we would consider that is that it's such a popular area and summertime use would be very heavy rentals and everything. So having construction going on would be bothersome to all kinds of folks, including your neighbor.
Hey, Dave, thank you for that. We are certainly open to that discussion. We have been in discussion with a couple different builders, Pillar and Ally, just to get some ideas about the project. And they do tell us this project, could take a substantial amount of time, anywhere between 8 months and a year. But that said, I'd be certainly willing to put the project off if that was necessary to make this go through.
Yeah, it's not that you couldn't start it this spring and early summer. It's just that during the summer months there'd be nothing going on. So yeah, that would be up to you. Okay, so how do others feel about conditions? Paul, what do you think about conditions on this?
Well, I think our standard conditions probably make sense given the neighborhood and the fact that it's used by rentals not just in the high season but also September, October. So
Hey, hon, can you go downstairs and see if Daddy needs something?
Well, could you pick up something for us too?
Is Daddy here? Oh.
So I would suggest that we do our standard conditions, construction activity and vehicles to be contained on the site, and between June 30th and Labor Day, no exterior construction would be allowed. No work would be permitted on the weekends, and construction activity 8 to 5 p.m. But it sounds to me as if we could put off construction until Labor Day.
Which would be ideal.
Yeah.
You want to make that a condition?
Yes.
Okay. Okay. So, Paul, would you, I'm sorry, other members, do you want to weigh in on this condition business?
This is Dave Veach. I'm not sure. I'm not quite sure I follow on postponing the start of construction till after Labor Day. Isn't that? I mean, it's more or less presumed in our normal circumstances, although as you said, someone could start the project but then have to interrupt it.
Yeah.
For the summer. Yeah. I don't think that's ideal, but I don't know that we want to start getting to that level of prescribing or limiting their choices, I guess I would say. I'm not sure about that.
Yeah, I think Dave, you have a good point, because since these are different parts, they could certainly maybe in the spring do one of the 3 parts or 2 of the parts. Who knows? That's
true. It's not. I mean, the most the addition part, the garage addition part will be not so much as much, but the when they do make that change in the middle part of the second floor and the small bump out in the back, that's going to be more disruptive to the rest of the house and everything else. So I would rather not tell them they have to wait till Labor Day necessarily.
Yeah, no, and I could agree with that. I just don't want them working and
Yes, so I'm sorry, Dave. Yeah, our normal conditions would prevent exterior construction during those summer months.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Everybody in agreement? Go ahead.
Mr. Chair, before the board continues, I have been asked by the building commissioner if the board could please clarify what they mean by exterior construction. Does that include landscape construction, retaining walls, septic systems, painting?
Yes. And yes.
So basically any type of construction on the exterior of the dwelling is considered it. Perfect.
That's right.
Thank you.
And Todd Eldridge, if I can clarify, they can still mow the lawn during this time.
Well, only if they do it by hand. Okay,
Mercy.
all right. So Paul, can you make a motion, please?
Yes, I will move to approve the application as submitted with the standard conditions that we have. All construction activity and vehicles to be contained on site. Between June 30th and Labor Day, no exterior construction will be allowed. No work will be permitted on weekends, and construction activity between 8 a.m. and 5 p.m. only. The exterior construction, I think we've defined as any exterior construction.
Yeah, because it's all noisy and sorry. Yeah, right. Okay. Is there a second on that?
I will second that. David Beach.
Okay, then we'll vote on that. Mr. Beach?
Beach votes yes.
Paul?
Sample votes yes.
Happy?
Happy votes yes.
Buck?
Buck votes yes.
And I vote yes. So that's a unanimous vote, Thad, and thank you very much.
And thank you, and we'll get the neighbors together to sort out the fence question.
Yeah, please do. I'm sure there's a good answer. I thought Happy's solution was very good. Okay,
Agreed.
so let's see. I don't think we have anything else to come before the board. Does anybody have something that I'm not?
And apropos, this is Paul Sample. Apropos of the building commissioner's suggestion, if he thinks that a better definition of exterior construction would be appropriate, or a more detailed definition would be more usable, perhaps he could submit a suggestion to us and we could take it up at a later meeting.
Sure, because we could include that, if we say exterior construction, that includes, the following: landscaping, so on and so on. Okay.
And if I might also say that I think that, because we do need to start thinking about, where is it noise? Is it whatever? Because, you get into landscaping and the difference between that and some other forms of construction, and it can get kind of muddy. So.
Yeah, that's right. Okay, very good. So I think now I've been lacking asking for a motion to take a roll call to close the meeting. So, Paul?
This is Paul Sample. I'll move that we take a roll call to close the meeting.
All right.
Seconds.
Okay, so we got to vote on that. Dave Beach?
Beach votes yes.
All right, Paul?
Sample votes yes.
Happy?
Happy votes yes.
Buck?
Buck votes yes.
And I'll vote yes. So now we'll take the roll call. So to close the meeting, and everybody gets to vote on this one. So, Mr. Beach?
Beach votes yes.
Paul?
Sample votes yes.
Happy?
Happy votes yes.
Buck?
Buck votes yes.
Dennis?
Sullivan votes yes.
Dave Thompson?
Dave Thompson votes yes, sir.
Megan?
Megan Story votes yes.
I vote yes. And with that, that's the end of the meeting. And the time here on Stage Harbor, Sarah, is 5:18.
We are officially adjourned at 5:18 p.m.
See you all in 2 weeks.